Welcome back to the most consistent football channel on all of YouTube. We did not just leave you in the middle of the season and decide to come back out of nowhere. I mean, who would do such a thing? So unprofessional. Am I right, Vidip?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely that doesn't
I
sound
mean,
like us, to be honest. That
imagine
sounds
changing the name, logo, everything about you, and then just deciding to come back just like that, like nothing happened.
I mean, imagine doing a complete rebrand,
Yeah.
disappearing for 6 months and just turning up out of nowhere. I mean, that doesn't sound like us. We're way too consistent for that.
Just you.
I
Anyway.
can't even imagine what that must be like. Yeah.
Gross. So today we have a really interesting topic of conversation. So this is a big year for football, right? It's World Cup, and the World Cup's in Qatar. That's not a conversation topic. That could be one, but it's not. We have a lot to say about that, but that's for another time. Today, Videep's here to tell us about a tendency which seems to be followed in the World Cup. So what usually happens is that the country which wins the World Cup tends to get disqualified 4 years later in the group stage itself. It's weird, right? You win the World Cup 1 year and in the next time you get out in stage one. So personally, I always thought that was sheer bad luck, coincidence, or chance. But well, Vidip's here to tell me that I'm wrong, as usual. So yeah, tell me how I'm wrong with you.
Don't beat yourself up, Ayush. You're not that wrong all the time. I mean, you tend to be right about a few things, like you just now mentioned, that it's become a tendency now. Like especially in the last 20, 25 years, there's been 5 editions of the World Cup, and 4 of those times, the team that won the last edition ended up losing the next edition. It's quite interesting to look at it, to be honest. So, the World Cup that's happening this year in Qatar is a 23rd edition of the FIFA World Cup. And if we look at from 1998, France won the 1998 FIFA World Cup, and in the 2002 edition, they ended up getting out in the group stage. This is where this pattern begins. Then in
1988,
2000,
I think you mean 1998.
I meant 1998. Did I
I think
misspeak?
you said 1988. Okay.
Sorry
Anyway.
about that. I meant 1998. So 1998, we saw this. 1998 and 2002, we saw this with France. Then 2006, Italy won the World Cup. It was quite a scene. 2006, Italy winning the World Cup was pretty big deal. And then 2010 World Cup, they ended out in the group stages. 2010 World Cup Spain, we remember that World Cup. That was, I think, the one World Cup I remember very well with my memory. The Andreas Iniesta winner against the Dutch in the finals in extra time, I believe. And 2014 World Cup Spain knocked out in the group stage. And
That was the
2014
first World
World
Cup for
Cup,
me.
the one. Oh, the 2010 World Cup, right?
14 one. The first
14, 2014, yeah. 2014 World Cup was so celebrated in Brazil. Football was coming back to Brazil. Neymar had just become a superstar, and there was the entire nation's pressure on Neymar and what this kid can do with the ball. 2014 World Cup, Germany wins it. Germany Argentina final. I think a lot of us remember that final by memory,
Yeah.
where I think that was the year everyone deep down thought Messi would finally win an international trophy. But then out of nowhere, Mario Götze, Andre Schürrle link up, and Germany score in the extra time.
It was terrible.
Germany win the World Cup. And 2018 World Cup, we know Son scores a very interesting goal. Manuel Neuer caught out at the halfway line, and Germany get knocked out in the group stage itself. 2018 World Cup, France won, and that was when Mbappe got thrown into the spotlight. Everyone was talking about Kylian Mbappe and what this kid could do. This teenage kid only after the great Pele, who scored in a World Cup final. 2022 World Cup, will France suffer the same consequences as the previous teams had? So once you look at it, like the last 5 editions, we took the last five editions, and out of 4 of them, we saw this tradition going on. So the only World Cup where this didn't happen was the 2002 to 2006 phase, where 2002 Brazil won the World Cup, and they went on to go to the quarterfinals in the 2006 World Cup. So the main question that comes from this is, well, do France suffer the same same sad fate that the other teams have so far. So, first of all, I just want to know from you, Ayush, do you think that's going to be the case?
So last year, I very much heavily supported France and very confidently said in the Euros that they'll get through and win, and on the other channels as well, Fanspire and all. But no, I don't think. I think we'll break the pattern again this year, and France will get through the group stage. I'm not going to go as far as to say that they'll win the World Cup, but I believe they'll get through the group stage. To be honest.
To be honest, if you look at France right now, the Nations League and everything that's going on right now with the international calendar, they aren't having the best season right now. If you look at everything going on, the results, the fixtures, they've had bad games against Croatia, against Denmark, I believe, and it's not a very good phase for France. With Karim Benzema on top form, Kylian Mbappe on top form, it just feels like they're not able to click on the international stage like they did in the Euros. So, while it's very tough to say if they'll qualify to the knockouts of this year's World Cup, it won't be a surprise coming to me, to be honest, because like they just don't seem to have the chemistry that you need. Now, if you look at someone like Argentina in 2021, 2022, the core team of the Argentinian team is looking really good. Just an example. So you look at the core team, you don't really have a lot of superstars, save Lionel Messi, obviously.
Mhm.
They don't have a lot of superstars, but you can see the quality of their game while they're playing. They won the Copa America, they won the Finalisma against Italy, and it's unbelievable what they're doing. And
I think it's the
uh,
first time that we're seeing Messi actually happier in the national team than he is at the club one.
exactly,
And
he's not
I
had the
won't
best
lie,
season at PSG.
I am 100% rooting for Messi right now because if he gets that World Cup, I wouldn't want anything else. Nothing would make me happier.
I think that's deep down, that's what we all want. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, finally having their best
Yeah.
international performance this year. Because like deep down, even though we choose to deny it, we do believe that's going to be the last World Cup. Let's not think about the sadder thing right now, though. Let's get to the topic back in hand. So let's take the 1998 France World Cup team, for example. You go on as World Cup champions, you go on to the next edition. You're obviously feeling confident. We've won the last World Cup, where we have great fans behind us. We've got great expectations from us, and then we decide to now get out in the group stage. That doesn't sound really good. And see, it's great that maybe a very good rated team didn't go through because it means that the underdogs performed really well that season. But is that the case that's happening every 4 years? I mean, is that something you choose to believe in? I mean, that's a great theory if you want to feel good at, but like deep down, when we look at the real world right now, I think it's going to come down to the fact that the people in power are to some extent controlling this game. I don't want to accuse anyone. I don't want to make that accusation at all.
We're not here
But
to do that. Yeah.
if you yeah, but like looking at the results, I have them right in front of me. The 1998 to 2002, 2006 to 2010, 10 to 14, 14 to 18. It just seems like too much of a repetitive pattern to be a coincidence, like you said in the introduction. And it just doesn't seem like bad luck and coincidence at this point. It seems like it's being forced because we know the lengths FIFA can go to, we know the lengths UEFA can go to, and is I mean I don't want to point it out really, but like it's also very interesting to look at that all of the teams that fail to make it to the next edition knockout stages were European. So we look at the one case in the last five editions. That was the 2002 Brazil team. That team didn't get knocked out in the group stage in the next edition, and that is the one team in the last five editions that's not European, and that just makes you think about it.
I have to.
That's all I have to say.
I never really thought about it that way. That it could be something controversial. When I came for this video, I thought it will be something in footballing terms, that a pattern, some training, some overconfidence. I never really thought that FIFA or some higher corrupted bodies or something are involved in this. Yeah, but yeah, that makes a little sense, to be honest, because it's too much of coincidences to be called coincidences.
Exactly. So, and even when you look at football in general, you look at how popular UEFA competitions are. But then you look at the South American competitions, you look at MLS, for example, in North America, you look at the African Nations Cup, like that happened mid-season in the Premier League. So I'm just stating it. If the Euros were held in the middle of a Premier League season or any footballing season, the season would be halted for the Euros to go on. The African Cup of Nations did not get the same result, didn't they? The competition was the competitions were played simultaneously.
But to be honest,
African,
I
Asian
I
countries.
don't blame them for that, because see, the European competition, I don't want to say they're better or anything, but they'll give you more money. The final
That's
goal
true,
for
yeah.
FIFA and any body will be to earn money, whether we want to admit or not. Yeah, we watch it for the game. We watch it because we enjoy it. It's a medium of earning money for them, and UEFA is the only competition which will earn the money. They won't stop for the African competition. It makes sense. It makes total sense to me.
See, yeah, from the revenue point of view, obviously it makes sense. But that's the point I'm trying to build here. If this was the Euros, everything else would have stopped and the Euros would have gone on for that 1 month. But since it was AFCON and like your team, Chelsea, and my team, Liverpool, we were affected the most in the Premier League, I have to say, because we have a good majority of our players from the African nations.
Yeah.
And we were affected by that period, regardless of what the results were in the Premier League. And like, wouldn't you have hoped for those players to be there during that time? Obviously, right?
100.
Because
Yeah.
so that's the one note I have to make here. That the 5 editions we've been noticing this, the one exception was a South American team and not a European team.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, like,
Yeah.
yeah, go on.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I would also want to say that this has happened twice, only twice in the past history. So you look at 1930 was the first World Cup, if I remember correctly, Uruguay.
I'm
That
gonna
was
act
won
like
by
I
the
know that.
host Uruguay. Then the second edition, 1934 and 1938, were consecutively won by Italy. And 1942, 1946 were cancelled due to World War reasons. And then 1950, Italy didn't make it past the group stage. So they retained it twice. And then the third year, they are out in the group stage. Then you look at the second instance where this has happened before these 5 editions is the 1958, 1962. Brazil, both the times won the World Cup, retained it. In 1966, they're out in the group stage. So you look at it and how the same pattern we're talking about now to be the World Cup winners curse, has happened only twice before in history. And now suddenly when football's been modernized, when the money is coming to the richer, suddenly you see this coincidence happening a lot more. And not pointing any fingers, despite us having pointed a lot of fingers already before.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting to look at, even if we're just interested in what's happening on the pitch.
No, I definitely agree. But what's your verdict then? Do France make it or do they not?
See, looking at the pitch, the quality they have, there's no way France stay back in their group. They obviously have to qualify to the round of 16 because you
So
look
break
at
the
that
pattern.
team and there's.
But no, let's see the 2010 Spain team. No one was thinking they're gonna get disqualified. Germany team, no one was thinking, but it happened, right? So why not this time?
That's what I'm thinking. So again, if you make it look like a coincidence is going to happen, right? On paper, France is probably the favorites at this point. You've got, as I said, Benzema, Mbappe, you've got Griezmann, you've got Nkunku coming up. They've got a solid backline as well.
They have a pretty
And
good
that,
defensive midfielder as well, which I would like to get mentioned.
yeah, and obviously I was coming to it if you let me
Yeah.
spoke. N'Golo Kante,
Sure.
obviously. Chouameni has just signed a huge deal with Real
Real
Madrid.
Madrid.
He's there. And
No,
like,
France
see,
have
you
a
look at
amazing squad depth.
that's a team of superstars. There's no reason why they shouldn't qualify.
That could
But
be the
then you
reason
look,
they won't
you can make
qualify.
the same case. Yeah,
That
that's the
could be the
same case you can make
reason.
for Italy, Spain, Germany. That's the same case you can make for all of these teams here. So if I look at it from my football perspective, then obviously they deserve to go through. They have that quality. I'm sure they can go through. But if I look at these series of coincidences, then I would say they're going to have a tough time.
No, give me something. I want one thing on paper from Vidhi Gupta saying that France are going to make it or they're not going to make it.
Okay, fine. I'll analyze this. I'll try to analyze this from the political perspective even more. Okay. We just witnessed the Kylian Mbappe saga, right? The whole PSG to Real Madrid thing.
Yeah, yeah.
We know how much President Macron was involved in the decision of Kylian Mbappe staying, with him offering incentives and whatnot. Maybe something that haven't even come out to the public yet. So we know for a fact that the France president, who has nothing to do with the football association, tends to get involved in this decision. So when you have the president of your country who's rooting for your team, then can that powerful person fight back FIFA's powers? That's the real question here. Because what's interesting is FIFA and France football on the same page, or are they against each other? That's another perspective that's really interesting to look at if you want to look at football from a political perspective. But I'll say France break this curse. France qualify for the round of 16.
Okay, so if he gets it wrong, we'll never let him forget this, and if he doesn't, we'll forget it in a minute.
That's fair. What do you think, though?
I already told you I believe France are the team which is finally going to break the curse, because to be honest, I still lean towards it being a large streak of coincidences. Like sure, but the coincidences happening too many times, it is suspicious. But that's the point of the coincidence. It can happen as many times, or it can just not happen at all. So I'm gonna stand by the coincidence thing. And yeah, that was all for today. We hope you liked the video. Consider liking, subscribing. Tell us, what do you think? Will France make it? Will they not? How wrong is Videep? How right am I? And yeah, we definitely after this video won't change our name and logo and come back. We're staying clean sheet. Signing off.
I mean, we never did that in the first place. Like, we never left. We were always there.
A football match daily or something.
Also, yeah. Also, to whoever's watching, I would really appreciate y'all giving your opinions about this topic from the football perspective, from the political perspective, what y'all think of what I made of it. Maybe I overthought this too much. Maybe I am spot on. I don't know. I would love to hear what y'all have to say about this. Yeah. Over to you, Ayush.
No, that's it for us. Ayush Makijan, Vidhi Gupta signing off.